All right. Hi,
So
guys. Welcome
hey,
back to.
the Squats and Sushi podcast. So we have been away for quite a while and we
Mhm.
decided to pick things back up. And
Yes.
rather than doing Q&As every episode, we decided to pick topics that we personally think people would benefit from our own experience. So today's topic is actually quite relatable for Annabel, or quite recent for Annabel,
Yeah.
as she's just come out of a competition prep, as you guys know, and she's been prepping for like 9 months. So it's a great topic to discuss, and that is post-show, coming out of a fat loss phase. How do you manage it? Because obviously it's very difficult,
Yeah.
especially if you've been dieting for so
For
long.
so long.
Yeah. How are you feeling,
When
Annabelle?
was the last time that you competed? Hey, it was 2018?
2017.
17.
Yeah. It was
Wow.
like the second part of the year 2017. So a very long time ago. Um,
Do you
but I
remember? You remember the post, like
Yeah,
how?
100%. Because mine was really bad. And also last year I did a diet phase, so I could talk about that as well.
Yeah, it
Um,
doesn't necessarily have to be a competition prep.
yeah,
Even if you're cutting, this can
definitely.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think most of our listeners don't compete anyway, so I think it's good for us to kind of talk about just fat loss in general.
Hmm.
So we decided to kick it off with the question of why does rebounding happen? Because I think a lot of people are just not aware that this even happens, you know? They
Yeah.
think, oh, I'm going to lose some fat for a holiday. And then they come back from the holiday and they're like, why am I fat again? You know? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Or
So,
post show, you see competitor. I know, like, again, we said that most of our viewers aren't competitors, but both of us are. So
yeah.
post show, we see a lot of athletes saying, "Oh, hop back on plan, 100%,"
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then you start feeling bad because you see that, oh, this athlete is already on plan, they're on track, they see everything is a breeze to them, and then you're internally having like the worst time ever. It's
Yeah.
very difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult. And I also think a lot of people don't talk about it
They don't.
because they think it like makes them less of an athlete, but it's not like that.
Exactly.
So just to kind of cover why does this even happen in the first place? So our bodies are very smart and they obviously want to keep as much fat as possible because fat is energy, right? So when you go into a fat loss phase, your body's metabolism starts to down regulate. So what does that mean? That means that my body will use less energy to make a cup of coffee. You know, let's say before it took 10 calories to make a cup of coffee, it's now going to take me 5 calories. So your body becomes very efficient at just doing day-to-day activities, right? So
Yeah.
over time, and you can't do anything about this, it's just what happens. And over time, your metabolism gets to down here.
Hmm.
So the only way for you to get it back up here is to slowly increase how much food you're having, slowly reduce how much activity you're having, and your body will then start to go back up to its normal maintenance, right?
Hmm.
So that's kind of essentially why it happens. So the reason why people rebound is obviously because their metabolism is here, but then they start eating and having the same lifestyle as they used to when it was up here. And obviously all of this is where the fat gain happens.
That gain happens.
Yeah.
Okay, so question. Well, before I ask the question,
Yeah.
so rebounding happens mostly because you have been so restrictive, right? You've been so disciplined with your diet for an extended period of time, and now you have a little bit of leeway
Yeah.
because you're coming off your cut, you're reversing whatever the phase is, but then you just yeah, you tend to eat
Yeah. You're just
over what you're supposed to. That's
exactly.
it. It's like in your head, there's this flip, flip that no, a switch or a flip.
Switch. Yeah.
A switch that just flips. And it's like, okay, I'm not cutting anymore. I can eat whatever I want,
Yeah.
and that's when
Yeah.
things get out of control.
Exactly. And the thing is, just like with fat loss, like you make a small adjustment, like let's say you add in 100 calories of cardio a week, right? Your body will respond to that. You will see more fat loss, right?
Right.
Same thing with nutrition. If you add in 1,000 calories, guess what? You're going to start gaining weight. But if you add in just enough to slowly start bringing yourself up to maintenance, you won't rebound. You won't start.
That is how we minimize the fat gain,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay, so if someone comes off of a dieting phase and a cut and they don't, let's say, overeat
Mm-hmm.
during that first like 2 weeks, are you saying that they're less likely to rebound?
I think what happens is, obviously, if you stick to what you were like doing during the dieting, you will just
Right.
lose more fat. You'll keep losing fat, right? So the point is, you want to slowly get back up to what your maintenance is. But maintenance is just a number, a perceived number that changes all the time. My maintenance now is going to be different than it was 4 months ago. And that is because I weigh different. I have a different amount of muscle. My lifestyle is different. I do more steps, as an example. Yeah. So if your off-season maintenance was 2,200 calories, it now might be 1,800 because you've lost, let's say, 10 kilos. So you weigh less, you're going to need less food.
Yeah.
So that's why if someone comes off of a diet that they did, I can't just say, right, this is your maintenance now. You need to stick to this, and
Let's go back to that. Yeah.
So to be safe, you need to slowly go, okay, let's add in 200 calories. Let's see how she responds. Okay, her body weight hasn't really changed. Okay, let's add a bit of more, a little bit more calories. And then let's say,
so it is very conservative.
Yeah. Well, it depends how you want to go about it. Some people, let's say you're a power lifter and you're not really bothered. You just wanted to do like a little cut for a holiday. So for them, maybe they'll be fine, gaining 5 extra kilos. But if you're someone who competes in physique sports and or a natural, right? The last thing you want to do is have to diet for a long time, because the longer you're, and I'll get into this later in this episode.
Yeah.
But if you diet for a long time, you're increasing your chance of losing muscle. You're increasing your chance of messing your hormones up. Not that they can't recover, but obviously it will affect your hormones. And obviously those are detrimental to your progress and how you look, right? So if you stay in decent shape and you manage to get your calories into a really good place, you can diet for, let's say, 14 weeks and you'll be shredded. And that's perfect, because that's 14 weeks is nothing if you're someone who's already done a diet with like 9 months,
Yeah.
So I think that's the best way to think about it, is that by doing the groundwork now, you're setting your body up for the best future. So yeah, I'll definitely get into that in one of the later questions. But the next one we thought to talk about is there anything that we can do to reduce how much you rebound, right? So it kind of goes back into this.
I would definitely say have a plan. Have a plan. That's better than not having anything.
Yeah.
Because even if I overeat on the plan, like Sammy is my coach, she knows what am I trying to say? Like, even if I overeat following your plan, that's much better than overeating without structure and without a plan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So definitely have a plan in place, because I think a lot of people, they think, oh yeah, like I'll be fine, post show, like, well, it doesn't work like that. In some instances, people think post show or post dieting is a lot harder than actually dieting. And it's because you don't have that near goal. Like the goal is now a year away, or
exactly. So in your head, it's this internal battle, like, oh, I'm not stepping on stage anytime soon. So having that donut or having a box of cookies, is it really gonna affect me?
Yeah. And then someone listening to this might think, well, does that mean I can never kind of be off plan and have flexibility? You can, but what you need to realize is you're here, right? You've just come here. Once you get back here, you can then start having a bit more flexibility. And your body won't respond as, crazy as it does post show. So that's the main thing, is the first kind of couple months following a dieting phase, you really...
Yeah, I was about to ask, how long would you say that it takes to get someone from here? Is it just person dependent?
Person dependent, because you might have genetics and you might have your whole life been quite lean and let's say you've been doing sports since the age of 6 years old, yeah, so you're always
Yeah.
fit. For someone like that, you know, they probably will be fine. They probably only needed to diet for, let's say, 10 weeks for the show, right? But if you're someone who's just lost like 15 kilos, you have to be really careful. So it depends when, like for females, when is your period normalized? That's a good sign, you know?
Yeah.
For guys, when is your sex drive back fully, you know? So little like things like that, you'll start to notice like I'm getting back to normal and your body won't be as like responsive to that extra cookie, you know? Also, I personally think that post show, the reason your cravings are so high is just because you're hungry. Like your body just wants food because it's tired of dieting.
Yeah.
So when people want food, they're always going to reach for things like cookies, you know, chocolate, things that are high in sugar because of lots of energy, and because that's most of the things that people don't have every day, right?
Right.
So when you're at a point that you've recovered from your dieting phase, you're not even going to want those things as much, which is why having one once a week, you're not going to respond negatively because you're not having enough of those kind of snacks. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's
Like it
what,
was really hard for me.
yeah,
I can't even explain to you. It like I'm so happy that we did have a plan, and you know that first month I think I had maybe 6 bad days out of a month post show, but still in like the grand scheme of things that's been my best post show.
yeah, definitely.
But even having that plan, like it was always at the end of the night that I felt like these mad cravings, and I would have to hold myself like, Annabelle, no, I'd have to have these conversations. It
Yeah.
was so difficult. And Kavita was like, are you hungry? And I'm like, no, it's not even that I'm hungry. It's just like this mental thing. Like I want more now. I want everything now.
Yeah. And honestly, that's so normal. Like Annabelle has just come out of that, or she's coming out of that still. And the thing is, she followed a flexible dieting approach, you know? So even with the ability to pretty much have what you want for most of prep,
For
you
most of
still,
prep, yeah.
yeah, you still feel that way. And the reason why is because it's that animal brain. Like we, at the end of the day, we are animals, and your body is just telling you, like, I want food, because it's done dieting. It doesn't have like that focus for right now.
Yep.
And that's the trouble, and I suffered with that as well. Like I genuinely had, I don't think I had an eating disorder because it didn't get that bad, but I did
Yeah.
have issues where I wouldn't be hungry, but I just wanted food. I was always thinking about food. And I think what happened was I had a very intense prep. So I lost a lot of weight. I started the prep at 70 kilos and I finished at 56. So I lost 14
Whew.
kilos in
Yeah.
24 weeks, which is a very short amount of time for that much fat.
For that much weight, yeah.
Yeah. And my calories went to under 1,000. I don't recommend this to anyone. This is before I had knowledge, so please don't take this advice. But I was on very low calories, so obviously when I came out of that, you know, it was very bad.
Yeah.
It took me like at least a year to recover, 6
Just
months
to recover.
to recover. And I'm at this point now, like I'm not even joking, but some days I'm just like, I can't be bothered to eat. Like it's so weird. It's so different because now
That's
I just
very
think
different.
food is food, you know? Like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, I can't have that. I don't have enough fats for that today. I'll just have it tomorrow. Whereas before, I'd be like, tomorrow? What's that? You know?
I feel like I'm still in that phase.
Yeah, honestly, it's really hard, but the main thing is obviously to be open and honest if you have a coach,
Yeah,
because that's the only way they can help you is if they know what's going on. And in some
exactly.
cases, like what we did with Annabelle, is we could see that that little adjustment we made was too little. She wasn't able to stick to the calories because they were still too low for her. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we said, okay, it's a lot better if Annabelle eats more food, but she's consistent, then she's on low calories, but then having these extra days, you know?
yeah.
Because at least with more food, we know exactly how much she's having every single day. And
And
now,
we're in control of the
yeah, there's
variables.
more
Yeah.
control. And we've taken it now a step further to go, she can have one meal a week where she doesn't track. some people might see this as like, oh, well, that's not a really good mentality because it's like a cheat meal, you know, so you
Yeah.
have a massive binge in that meal. But the point is, she's not. We're just having one meal where she can just have, you know, something that she wants, and she doesn't need to worry about having to track it. And
It was for me, it was just like the fact of not being able to eat. It's kind of like I'm not allowed to have it, I want it. So it'd make me crave it even more.
yeah,
So now that we allowed it, I may not even use it, but I know it's there.
yeah,
And for me, mentally, it's just
yeah,
better.
yeah. And I
Yeah.
think like the main thing also to take from this episode is that not one size fits all. So for some people, they need to do intuitive eating, let's say. Yeah. For some people, they need to have one meal off plan. For others, whatever. Everyone is different.
Yeah.
And it's important to find what works for you. So in Annabelle's case, if she has occasions with her friends where she can't track the food, let's say it's like a home cooked meal,
Yeah.
like Kabir's mom, let's say, yeah, how are you going to track that? You can guesstimate, yes, but for some people that stresses them out because they're like, you know what, I don't know what's in here. I'd rather just have one meal a week that I can just not have to think about that. So it's working so far. And again, like Annabelle said, the way she's gone about coming out of a post show this time compared to last time is a lot better. And I think you just get better each
You
time.
just get better each
Yeah.
time. Exactly.
Because you just you go through the process. And if you're someone like me who's rebounded quite bad, right? I literally gained like 20 kilos after my diet, after my prep.
Wow.
I had no support post show. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know it happens that quick. Literally, 2 weeks after my show, I look in the mirror and I'm like, what? Why is the stomach like that? Oh, it's probably just water. And I thought it was just water until one day I was like, it's not water, it's fat.
Oh, fuck.
I was so shocked. Honestly, that was the biggest shock for me ever. I could not believe how quickly that happened.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So yeah,
I was still really hard on myself now, though. I think that that's something that, yes, it gets easier over time, but it's still going to happen.
yeah.
Like in my head, I thought that, oh, I'm kind of a failure. I'm the worst athlete. I should have my shit together by now. This is my third show. What am I doing? Like that was worse for me and made my relationship with food, or like the situation that I was going through, even worse because I thought like that about myself.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, it's normal to be hard on yourself because we all are.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, because you're a pro athlete and you look at everyone around you, again, you don't know what's happening behind scenes because 100% there's other people who are struggling, right? And the more you do it and the more you stay at a lower body fat percentage, the more comfortable your body is going to get to be there. That makes sense. Because because your body just adapts to it. It goes, okay, so this is my new body fat. I'm going to adapt to this so that I don't need to keep, you know, using energy. If that makes sense. So it just wants to find an equilibrium. So for people who are normally dieting, our advice is like, don't yo-yo diet. Don't keep going into a fat loss phase and then you rebound, you gain all the fat, then you go, oh, I need to do another dieting phase, you know? Or people do this, they jump from coach to coach. They go, okay, well, I lost weight with them and now all of a sudden I've put it back on. Like they're obviously embarrassed to go back to that coach. They go to someone else for a new start and then the same thing happens. You just need to find something that's sustainable for you.
That's the most important.
Yeah. So we already mentioned how long it lasts. It's completely person dependent. And I think the longer that it took you to lose all that fat, the longer it'll take you to recover from it. Yeah. And in some cases, even, I mean, because you did a reverse diet in the middle of this, it's a bit different. I think if someone like literally dieted for 9 months straight, it's going to take them a while to actually feel normal again. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, which is why I don't promote like doing long seasons and try and do as many like back-to-back shows. Or time it in a way where your body can actually recover, you know? So let's hear some of your tips recently, how you've managed to stay accountable. What do you think has helped you on the days where you were like, shit, I really need to eat something?
I think it's just the daily tracker.
Mm.
Sammy we have a daily tracker where there's a bunch of data that I plug in at the end of every day. And we only check in once a week, but having that daily tracker holds myself accountable. And like, I need to plug in those numbers at the end of the day, how many protein, carbs, and fats that I had.
Yeah.
And if it's over, or if I see that my weight shoots up, I think that right there is just
It just tells you, yeah.
motivation and like keeps me on track. Yeah.
And we're checking in once a week now, but we did for some time have like twice a week check-in,
Twice a week. Yeah.
or even every other day check-in. So I think it's important to, you know, discuss this with your coach. And for some people, like, you need to have twice a week check-ins.
Yeah, I remember you even asked me, you're like, Annabel, do you want twice a week check-ins? And I'm like, no, I can do this.
Yeah.
Once a week is fine. But you offered it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think what I've seen from people who I've worked with through a fat loss phase, like doing that twice a week check-in helps so much.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just, even if it's just a text message to go, you know what, like everything's going well, like, you know, cool, then that just keeps them sane. You know, they know like, okay, I've checked in with Sammy twice, I'm doing everything right. Or the opposite, you know, like, I'm having a really tough week. Thank God I had a check-in with her, because otherwise, you know, it would have, by next check-in, I would have already messed up.
For sure. I can't imagine going through post-show without you. I mean, with anything without you, but especially post-show. It really helped. Another thing that helped me, and I struggled some time to find some balance with this, because I was like, oh, now I can have all these foods. Woo. No, don't do that, because you actually end up craving more fun foods. So I tried, like, I have 4 meals in a day. So I tried saving like the fun meals at night, but then I realized that that triggers me to want more. So what I now do is I have 4 meals, 2 of which are salty and have loads of veggies and are super nutritious. And then the other 2 are whole foods, but I also include like something
Sweet.
fun, I guess. Yeah, like something sweet.
Yeah.
And I also have spaced out my meals. So I'll have the sweet in the morning and then salty post-workout, and then a sweet with like a decaf coffee in the middle of the day, and then salty at night.
Yeah.
And that satisfies me. So that is the balance. And since I found this, I feel so much better. And I'm not as food focused.
Yeah.
Because I have that balance. Like, I'm allowing myself, but I'm also satisfying myself.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, see, so for you, you found something that works for you.
Yeah.
That's, for example, I know people who go, no, like, even if I'm in off season, I need to have my, you know, chicken, broccoli, whatever. If that's what works for them, then that works for them, you know? So just to add to that, something I personally think is very important is post show, you're going to find every single excuse to have something extra. Like, that is just, I was the same. It's just the way it works. Like, well, if I have this cookie now, like, you know, technically, if I stick to everything else for the rest of the week, this cookie isn't going to count, you know?
It doesn't exist, yeah.
Or, you know, I'll just do some extra steps or whatever. And the thing is,
Yeah.
the last thing you want to do is be in a mindset where you make up for stuff. So it's like, because I have this cookie, I'm going to eat a bit less tomorrow, or I'm going to have this cookie and then I just won't have my rice later. And the problem is, if you do that, you're going to be so hungry that you're just going to end up eating more. So
Then
just
exactly.
an extra 100 calories, if that's what you had to do, then leave it there. Don't then take it on to the next day, you know? And another thing that you need to admit to yourself is, if there are certain foods that you're literally obsessed with, and we all have something like we're obsessed with, you know? And you think, if this is in the house, I won't be able to control myself. Don't have it, because
don't even have it.
You can reintroduce it when your calories are higher, because I do think it's important to fix your relationship with a certain food. But doing that post show is the worst time you can do that, because whatever you tell yourself, you're not going to be able to do it. And I've been there myself. For me, it was peanut butter.
Cinnabons.
And not butter. I would literally eat so much peanut butter. And it's weird because people think, oh, but that's such a heavy food. Like, how do you do that? I don't know what it is, but I just have this impression. Now, finally, I don't have a problem. I can have a massive tub of peanut butter in the house, and I just have how much I need, and that's it. Like,
And that's it.
yeah. But again, like post show, I wouldn't have been able to do that.
Yeah.
Be smart with the kind of foods that you choose, and um dealing with food focus is the next point we wanted to cover, which is basically being obsessed with food. What can you do? So
Not even obsessed with, yeah, obsessed with food, and obsessed with, I'm guilty of this, like MyFitnessPal and numbers, and making sure that, oh, every meal has to be.
yeah, the main thing, like, you need to find what fits you. For some people, post show, maybe just tracking calories will do. Forget about protein, carbs, and fats. Maybe just calories is the best option for them. For some people, maybe having a protein target and a calorie target, and then they can have whatever carbs.
They could be flexible with that. Yeah.
So those are some other good ways to do it. But my advice is, just because you're post show, don't get out of your normal routine. So still have vegetables, still choose healthier foods, because they're going to keep you full. Choose foods that, like, for example, potatoes. Yeah, they keep you nice and full, instead of having 2 pieces of toast, because toast really is not going to keep you full. So I would say, until your calories are at a high place and you're, over all of this kind of hunger and stuff, just stick to whole foods that are going to keep you full. Or in Annabelle's case, make sure that you control how much extra stuff.
How much you're having.
Have, like, twice a day, you have one, like, fun thing, or something that you enjoy.
Oh, the worst was when I had it with every meal.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know what I was thinking.
You just want it, and then you realize that, because those things are very small but very high calorie, you're like, wait, that's it? Like, it ended there?
Yeah.
So then you just want more. And fiber one brownies, that's the worst mistake to make with that, because fiber one brownies have high fiber. I admit, I once had 4 fiber one brownies, and that was the worst thing I ever did in my life.
Oh my God. One of our friends admitted that this was his first experience with weed. He smoked. And the only thing that he had in his house was fiber one brownies. And he had, like, in the States, you can get, like, family size. Okay. So he had family size, like 18 brownies, and he ate all of them. The next day, he said that he just went to the bathroom the entire morning. He couldn't come out.
That's so bad. Yeah, because it's very high in fiber. Even if I have 2, I notice, like, a change.
A difference, yeah.
Yeah. So just, be mindful of things like that, because even if it's just sugary stuff, it can disrupt your digestion, and you don't want to be having issues trying to come out of a diet phase, because this is another good thing to talk about. When you come out of dieting and you start increasing how much food you're having, it's going to change your digestion, because your body isn't used to having more food, right? So have you
I noticed this even with my girls who are eating really little food. They come to me and they're almost eating nothing, and I'm like, all right, let's structure your food, and I give them more. They have digestion issues because I guess they weren't used to eating that much before, especially protein. They were super low in protein.
Yeah, so sometimes that can happen, and especially if they are increasing protein, they need to make sure with that they still consume enough vegetables, they still consume enough water, because if you just have a lot of protein and you don't consume enough fiber along with that, you will be constipated. This is the way that it works. That's why you've probably heard of protein farts, That's just what happens, because people don't, like, have enough water with that, or enough vegetables with that. So I guess, like, the main thing, really, the takeaway here is that just because you're not dieting anymore doesn't mean you should then stop eating foods that are whole, that keep you full, keep you satisfied. Because the next point is managing hunger. And I think there's a reason why you get so hungry. So the obvious one is the hormonal changes that happen. So you have something called leptin and ghrelin, and they're basically responsible for telling your body when you're hungry. or when you're
So they're out of whack.
yeah, so they're out of whack because your body is just trying to tell you to eat. And so obviously that's going to be telling you eat more food, but in reality, you've eaten enough food, you know?
You don't need it. Yeah.
So that's the first thing to bear in mind. But the second thing to bear in mind is when you increase carbohydrates, you have more sugar in your blood because carbohydrates are converted into glucose.
Mm-hmm.
So when your blood sugar spikes, right, when it comes back down, this is why people have cravings because they spike their blood sugar, it comes back down, and now your body wants to spike it again because it's almost like a high in a way, you know? So you get this kind of artificial hunger when in reality your body just wants more carbohydrates. So the best way to manage that is to make sure that you limit how much super high GI foods you have, such as like white bread, you know, sugary stuff. You can still have them, but you don't
Yeah.
have, okay, I have 100 grams of carbs, I'm going to have, you know, a loaf of bread. Like that's going to leave you very hungry. And also make sure that you're combining your carbohydrates with protein and a bit of fat in there as well.
Yes.
Because if you have carbs on their own, like if you just have like, I don't know, a donut or something, that's
You're
gonna
gonna feel so hungry
make
after.
you so hungry after that. So just make sure that you have
So
enough.
it is distributing your macros evenly throughout the day.
I think that helps as well. And another tactic is if you wake up and you're not too hungry, you know,
That's the best one. I used to do this on prep. It was great.
yeah, it's so good. I still do it now, but just because
Yeah.
when I wake up, I'm not
You
hungry. And
said you don't feel hungry, right?
no, you don't really feel hungry. So like why would you waste your food for when you're not hungry? Do you know what I mean?
It makes
So
sense.
yeah, so that's basically kind of my thoughts on
So
dealing.
are you saying, sorry for that first meal, just so the viewers can understand, you would have like a high protein, low fat, low carb, or like higher fat, low carb for
So
breakfast?
I would say it's completely, again, person dependent, depends on your schedule and your job. If you have an active job, you're probably going to want to have some carbohydrates for breakfast because
Right.
otherwise you're going to feel so like spaced
Crummy.
out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have like an office job or you're sat down, you don't really need to have loads of carbohydrates in the morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless you feel like you benefit from having a bit of carbs. So I tend to have like a lowish medium carb breakfast,
Okay.
protein and a bit of fat. And then later in the day, I start to eat a bit more carbohydrates, especially if I'm training in the evening
Yeah.
or in the daytime. Like I need to have some carbs around there. But again, if having carbs for breakfast is going to make you stay on your plan, then you need to do that. So adherence, like there's JP, so if anyone follows Trained by JP, he once said something how adherence is literally the most important thing. So it's like if having an ice cream every single day is going to make you consistent with everything else, then it's better to have that ice cream
Have
than
that ice
have
cream.
it.
Yeah.
And that's like what we made with Annabel. Like if she has that one meal off a week, but then it keeps her consistent with everything, then that will be better for her progress in the long run.
Yeah.
You have to think about it that way. But when it comes to managing hunger and dealing with food focus, do you have any specific things that you're currently doing apart from the meals that you've done? Like, do you find like there's something that's
No, I think we covered everything. I think it's just distributing macros pretty evenly
mm-hmm.
and making sure that I'm having my veggies. Because when I did not have veggies, which was another mistake that I did post show, I was super hungry.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, and just making my meals look like with more volume, like the
Yeah,
appearance that
yeah,
they have more volume. For example, oats. If you just cook 30 grams of oats in water or milk, it's nothing. But I discovered that if you add pumpkin, like pureed pumpkin, or zucchini, shredded zucchini, it doubles the amount.
yeah, exactly. And
So
that's
there are little
why,
things like this
yeah,
that I incorporate.
yeah. And that's why we say like choose foods like whole foods because they're gonna keep you fuller and then you're
Hmm.
less likely to want to eat stuff because when you're hungry, you're gonna try and pick at the little things.
And you can make the whole foods tasty. That's another
Yeah,
mistake. People
exactly.
don't season their shit. What's wrong with them? You don't have to have boiled like chicken. Ew. What are we? We're in 2020. Come on now.
And there's like there's basically no calories in seasoning. If you need to use like a low calorie ketchup, like that's what I do all
Yeah.
the time.
You can
Make
make your food delicious, and I think that you should.
Yeah, 100%.
Hmm.
But I think we pretty much covered everything.
Yes.
Obviously, if you guys like are going through something like that, like feel free to message Annabelle or myself. We'll give you tips because we've both been through that, and it's not a good place to be if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the main thing is like, why would you sacrifice however long it took you to get into that shape just because you don't have a plan, or you're not being honest with yourself?
Hmm.
Not worth it. So, yeah, that's basically our thoughts, but we hope you enjoyed it.
Enjoyed this podcast and this episode. And
Back
if you
next
guys have
week.
any specific topics that you want us to
Yeah.
cover, just leave them in the comment section down below.
Yeah, leave them in the comment section or message one of us, but
Yeah.
we'll be doing these every week. We decided to have shorter episodes, but more often because I feel like it makes it interesting for you guys as well, rather than listening to us ramble for like 2 hours.
An hour. Yeah, an hour and a half.
Exactly. We'd rather do like more frequent episodes.
Yes.
Yeah, but we will catch you in the next one. Peace.